Are you looking for an escape from manufactured truth wrapped in selfish agenda? Don't you just want to have a real and raw conversation, all masks and rules aside? That's what you're getting here at Titan Evolution Podcast. Get rid of all the nonsense information and discuss everything under the sun without filters. Listen to real stories of real people who will put your current perspectives to the test, guide you on living the life you truly want, and see everything free from judgment and pretenses. Time to get rid of those unhealthy environments and let your authentic self shine. Here are your hosts, Travis Johnson and Carol Carpenter.
Hi, my name is Carol Carpenter, and welcome back to the show. That's our co-host right there, Travis Johnson, and we have a special guest today, and his name is Michael Klepacz. And Michael was born in Toledo, Ohio, within a small Polish community, and he watched his parents juggle multiple jobs. And although they led a comfortable life, he wanted more. He joined the Air Force, after which he was accepted into UCLA's entrepreneurship boot camp for veterans with disabilities, and this ignited him to start Natural Materials Unlimited, a company specializing in designing and manufacturing eco-friendly textile products for clients seeking custom solutions, being an advocate for sustainable living. Welcome, Michael.
Thanks for having me.
This is exciting stuff here because not only do we have a military veteran, so I can have some things to chat about with Michael, but he's also a great guy, which we don't usually get on the show.
Come on.
I do what I can. I got a little better after I left the chair force, but
The chair force?
Elaborate.
What does that mean?
It's everyone's got their own digs, right? Like with the Marines eat crayon pizzas and the Army people sleep in the dirt, and we have nice hotels with actual food, and we sit in chairs because we're the chair force,
Oh my God, I've never even heard this. This is completely new to me. Obviously not in the military or anything.
We're the pampered bunch.
Oh, You're the fluffy bunch.
Yeah. So what happens is like the Marines will take the beach, the Army will come in and secure the area. Of course, the Navy drop the Marines off, and then after everything is safe, then the Air Force comes in to do their job, whatever the heck that is.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yep.
And they didn't have enough cushy responsibility that they had to bifurcate and split off into the Space Force, which is a zero gravity chair force, let's be honest.
Oh my gosh.
It's a chairless force.
It's a chairless
force. They float above the rest.
Yeah. This is all the like military inter-service rivalry and how we kind of like dig and pick at each other for fun.
Can you notice though how he didn't mention the Coast Guard?
Oh, right. Yes, I did. So what's the reason for that? Is there a reason for that?
Coast Guard's not the military.
Yeah, they're not Department of Defense. They're Department of Transportation.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I'd say something mean like they don't even count, but as a lot of people know that study history, like the Coast Guard was overseas in World War I, World War II, Vietnam, Korea. They're over in the Middle East right now. When I was there, they have their own little section of cutters that go patrol the harbors and the inner seas and the Persian Gulf. So they do a lot of good stuff, but from the big brother perspective, we just pick on them like they don't even matter.
Yeah, It's a thing.
It's a thing.
but
good to know.
Civilians can't make fun of the Coast Guard.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's also a thing.
Yeah, if you're a civilian, if you've never served in any capacity and you hear these people doing their little rivalry stuff, their little digs at each other, you can't jump in because they'll all turn at you and then you will be the bad guy.
You're the bad guy.
And then you will find out. It's just like when you pick on your like sibling, right? Like you can do it, but if someone else does it, you better hold on.
Well, it's just like picking on your own racial, origin. Like we can do it. Like I can pick on Asians, but dear God, if you are, let's just say Anglo and pick on an Asian, we will turn on you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not cracker. It's saltine American. Okay. Get it right.
Salty American.
That's
oh
the
my
PC
God.
term for cracker.
Oh my God. So funny.
You've not heard that one either?
No. I just don't. I stay away from those types of terminology. emojis.
That stuff is my favorite, because the people that can talk like that, like you can cover like any topic, because you know that the other person is not going to get all fired up about it. You can just
push, but you can also push buttons with that too.
You
Big
can,
time.
right? You can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I've been accused of that a time or two.
Oh, have you?
Yeah.
I'm saying that I'm saying that very sarcastically. FYI.
Sarcasm. Yeah.
Kind of makes you want to tell a joke. Can we tell jokes on this show?
Yeah, you can
We
tell
can do
jokes,
anything we
cuss,
want.
do whatever you want.
A friend of mine who, no joke, his nickname, we all had nicknames in the Air Force. His nickname was Charcoal. He told us to call him Charcoal. He was very dark, super cool dude from Louisiana. He says to me, he says, "What do you call a baby cracker?" And I was like, "Dude, I don't know. I'm Polish. I'm not a cracker." And he's like, "A crumb." And I was like,
Oh
all right.
I can't believe I've never heard that. I can't believe I didn't make the association as you were saying it. That's wonderful.
I thought it was amazing.
It's funny. It's hysterical.
Yeah. It's good humor.
How did you and Travis actually end up meeting?
We met through mutual friends.
Okay. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yep.
I know I've met you, so I've had the opportunity to speak to you a couple of times, and I find, some of the stuff you do obviously fascinating and very current, because we're in need of like what you provide. And we talked a little bit about it, but maybe you can tell our audience a little bit about like the hemp stuff that we were talking about, because I love this kind of stuff. Things are sustainable because our earth is only going to be able to provide so much. So we're going to have to make do with what we have at this point. So if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah. So the fall away from just being like a grease monkey mechanic, which is what I am proud to be. It happened when I first moved to Poland, right? So I'm in Poland now. I moved here officially full-time in 2012.
And why Poland?
Well, that's a story too. So the shortest story is that I got medically retired from the Air Force. I blew out my back. Turns out that I have like a narrower than normal spinal canal, so back injuries are like 10 times easier for me to get. I didn't know that at the time. And so chiropractors and physical therapists really got me back on my feet again. Same for yoga. And so I was like, well, this seems like a noble profession. I want to go become a chiropractor. Well, they were redoing the GI Bill at the time. So it was rumored the GI Bill would be changed like 2006, 2007. And so they recreated it into the post 9/11 GI Bill, but that didn't actually come out until 2009. So I had like one hell of a gap year, if you will, right? And so I was trying to get my residency in Michigan so that I could get a decent tuition to go to, whatever university over there. But we got kicked out of the house that we were renting, and the mentor who I thought that I was getting along with, his wife wasn't going to let me and my friend move into the rental house. So I had to leave Michigan. So I said to my mom, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, first of all, I need to get a job, right? Like I can't keep living off the money they gave me when I got out of the Air Force, because they gave me a bunch of money, more money than I should have got at 22 for sure. And so she's like, well, why don't you just get a job at Cedar Point, which is this really big amusement park / water park where we come from. And she's like, you'll meet some Polish girls. And I was like, oh yeah, that's true.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
such a mom.
Yeah. It was so
cruising the local water park when you're 22 to pick up Polish women.
I mean, to call it a local water park makes it sound small. Like this place had like 10,000 people on.
Yeah, this is the largest one in the world, right? In Ohio.
Yeah,
Sandusky or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so it's a global big deal, but just so happens to be in my backyard. And so, like I in high school, we were always noticing like all the pretty foreign chicks they were all college students in a work and travel program coming to work at this place over the summer, And so like without hesitation, I was like, well, with with my medical background, like I taught self-aid buddy care and all this stuff in the Air Force, which is like how not to die if you lose your arm. Like I could totally be a lifeguard or whatever. It'll be cool. I'll get a tan, I'll meet a girl, it'll be great. So that's what I did. I got a tan, I met a bunch of Polish women. It was amazing. And so that's how I ended up kind of in Poland. I started dating a Polish girl, and all my friends from Poland were like, dude, come to Poland, teach English, you can make $20 an hour, which was more than double what I was making at the amusement park. So I was like, hell yeah, let's go teach English for a while. And so that's how I got here, kind of.
So basically you got the mission of getting the girl, you got a
Yeah.
girl, then you added on moving to Poland.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Such boys.
I mean, that's the story here. Like people are like, why are you here? Work or women? And it's mostly the
Oh
women.
my God, that's funny. Well, yeah, a little bit of both. Okay, so then you get to Poland.
Yeah.
And how did like your company come about?
So the company came about kind of after I left Poland. So I was here for 4 months teaching English, and I lost a bunch of weight. And like I lost even more weight from when I was working my butt off like over the summer, eating what I would eat in the States. And then I came back and I just like ballooned up, and I was like, I don't know what's going on with the food here. And that's what made me kind of go down this whole sustainability, anti-GMO, what's wrong with our food rabbit hole. And that's what kind of got me back in California, which got me close to UCLA. Long story short, go through the UCLA program. I met a girl in Poland while I was here, different girl than the one that I came here with.
Man,
I didn't
you're
know
a
I met a girl.
player.
I didn't know I met a girl at the time. Like I never cheated on her or nothing. It was totally legit. And I'm a professional. But after we had broke up and I'm trying to go to school in Southern California, this girl finds me on Facebook. I kind of figured out, oh, she thinks I was handsome or whatever. And so, fast forward 2 years later, after the UCLA program, I moved here. I got accepted to a top business school here in Poland. The GI Bill paid for it, and that's how I got here. So then, right as I was finishing my bachelor's program, I started Natural Materials Unlimited. So, which is this eco-friendly product design company to scratch my itch about being
scratch your itch, yeah. But what products like do you mainly provide currently?
At the time when we started, we did a lot of waxing. So we would wax yarns and fabrics. So yarns for making hemp wick or candle wick or fabric.
You coat them, right?
Yeah.
You coated them.
Yeah. With wax, which makes them stronger. We were selling them to like camping companies and like outdoor places, smoke shops, that kind of thing. Then the wax fabrics were used as like an eco-friendly alternative to aluminum foil. That product pretty much took off and had its peak around like just before COVID started. I don't actually know how good these beeswax wraps are doing in America right now. We haven't been producing them for a while, but yeah, these days we're making a lot of stuff from linen. I don't really have anything floating around my desk, but this is what we produce now. It's a fabric tape that's used for dog collars and guitar straps, handles for bags, belts for people.
That kind of thing. Yeah, the kind of belts that have like the O-ring.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. So we make like a double D ring yoga strap.
Okay. And then what else do you produce?
Hold on, you can't skip over that. It sounds like you made a yoga strap. Is that just like a pseudonym for a organic sex swing, or what is that?
No, I have not put out the option of producing sex swings.
I was going to say you have put out between two women we've already heard in the story.
That's true.
And you're so horrible.
Sex stuff in general, right? Like we do a lot of stuff with yarns, fabric, rope, etc. And like I had not really considered this to be part of like a sex thing before, but we went to a trade show and I had wrapped my booth in a bunch of rope, and I made it look cool because I have rope that's anywhere between like 4 millimeters all the way up to 40. So like the thickness that you see, like literally holding ships like actual ships, big ass
Oh,
boats.
wow.
The docks.
Docking.
Like
Yeah.
we have,
Yeah.
but we make dog toys for like Great Danes and stuff from like the 40mm rope. I mean, it's like huge. Anyways, so people were walking up to our booth, like couples, and like putting the rope around their wrists and like checking it. And I was like, this is a
Oh.
thing. I was like, and people were buying, they were like, how much per meter? Like for rope, right? Like nice hemp and linen ropes at this trade show. Like I'm trying to sell it for like outdoor use. It was absolutely being used for sex, for sure. So
Well,
That
is
is
that
a huge industry. Why not
Yeah.
get into that?
sustainable
I don't know.
BDSM?
It's just it's hard to get a credit card processor and like that kind of thing. It's just, I'm happy to sell.
Well, do you know
I
you
will
can be
sell
your
rope
own
to
credit
people
card
who want to sell
processor?
it.
You don't have to get
You
one. You
can.
can become one.
Yes.
Say that again.
You can become your own credit card processor. You don't need to go find one. You
Mhm.
can create one the
I
same
can
way
create
anyone
my
else
own
creates
gateway.
another business. Yeah. And
Love
then you
it.
can be the guy that's the credit card processor for you're right, because not a lot of people are serving hemp or marijuana or all that other things. Like you can become that person and be the go-to guy for hemp credit processing.
Well,
Merchant
if I
account.
didn't need another plate on my table, this is
You
it.
mean to spin?
Oh, for sure.
To spend, well, you've
Yeah.
got, well, I mean, we're already giving you like homework, right? You've got the organic sustainable BDSM tie-ups, right? Then you've got the hemp preferred credit card processor. I mean, like this, all this stuff is good. This
I mean,
is
it makes perfect sense to me.
usually the guest doesn't
Yeah.
end up taking notes, but I think in this case,
I mean, I'm definitely going to watch this show twice.
Getting some business ideas from it, right?
Right. I'm gonna, I'm abstaining from taking actual notes so that people don't have to listen to my pen, but I will watch this twice.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it.
well, you said you got overseas again to do your stuff with the GI Bill, but you told me something
Yep.
in the pre-interview that you didn't mention is that you get max BAH.
Oh, for
What
sure.
is that?
So Carol doesn't know because she's a civilian.
Yes, I am.
So BAH stands for Base Allowance Housing, which basically means the Department of Defense, whether you're active duty or using the post 9/11 GI Bill, they will give you a housing.
Per diem.
There you go.
They'll give you a stipend every month for housing.
Exactly, based on the cost of living where you live, right? So back in 2008, 2009, the BAH in Ohio was like $600, whereas like
A month.
yeah, whereas
Okay.
like fast forward 3 years and then take me to LA, the BAH was like $1250 ish. But and any veteran who hasn't used their GI Bill yet, who's single or whatever, who wants to get an education, there's a super teeny tiny little box on the veteran website where you can actually click country that it's almost impossible to find. And they will give you maximum BAH for being overseas. So you can go to some super cheap country and get maximum BAH. In this case, it was $1,500. So I earned more for housing allowance being in Poland, which is 5 times cheaper than LA. And I was getting, an extra $250 a month. So between my
But
40%
why?
disability, I don't know. It's just the policy.
Oh,
The policy is if you go to
interesting.
school overseas, max BAH. It doesn't matter the cost of living. So like it would have sucked in England. Like this wouldn't have been great in London, but because I was
it's
in
super
Warsaw,
expensive.
Right, but that stipulation is easier out Oconus, right outside the contiguous U.S. because almost no one takes advantage of it. A and B would be nearly like an insane amount of calculations to do cost of living around the globe. So they're like,
So they average it out.
yeah, no one
Got
takes
it.
this crap
They just max
anyway.
it.
Just click the box and we'll give you the thing. But like
Yep.
Oklahoma City, very low BAH. Hawaii, insane. It's like $3,200 a month in Hawaii right now.
Holy cow.
And it was only $1,800 a
cost
month.
of living.
Cost of
Yeah.
living, right? So
Yeah.
those things match. So like when my wife was here in Oklahoma and I was overseas in Bahrain, she got the BAH here and I got OHA, which is overseas housing allowance. So on top of the 1,800 we were getting here, I was getting 2,500 over there.
Double dip?
Double dip. Although so that was up to that figure, right? So I had to find an apartment or a flat over there, anywhere from that number down, but they would only cut me the check for exactly what it was. So if I went over, that was out of my pocket. So I didn't
Gotcha.
get like extra money and went straight
Yeah.
directly to the landlord. But
Got
like
it.
stuff like that exists all over, and most people don't really know that those things exist. I know we've talked a lot about, not a lot really, about government programs, but there's all these little things that exist out there. If you take the time to look for them, you can find them, like the Max
Very true.
BAH. Like there's a zillion things available for free college in the US, but most people just don't even look for it.
Mhm.
If you qualify for one program, you all of a sudden qualify for these other 12 programs that no one looks into. Like, it's insane how much is even available out there. But this
One
is
of the
way
other
off
things that
topic.
they don't know about the GI Bill, because I didn't know, and Travis probably doesn't know either. So the GI Bill, which is totally GI funded, by the way, like I put $1,200 in, so it's like we all did it in basic
Mhm.
training. So like your first weeks in basic training, you're getting like $150 a week because the rest of it is going into the GI Bill. But when you finish the GI Bill, when I finished it, the VA sent me a $1,200 check and I refused to cash. I called them and I'm like, what the is this check? Like, I know not to cash VA checks without a real explanation because they'll ask for the money back later. Oh,
Yeah.
we accidentally sent you a check. And so I called them up and they're like, sir, you used all of your VA benefit. You get your money back. And I was like, shut up.
I'm writing that down for me right now.
Mhm.
VA
You use all
refund.
36 months of benefit, you get that money back.
No
Yeah,
kidding.
but this all comes back into like, we've all been part of talks of knowing the rules of the game. If you don't know the rules of the game, you don't even know where to look, right? You
Right.
can't win. And here are some rules that people are going to hear now, and benefits that, wow, I'm hugely distracted by Michael adjusting his mic.
It's been going down.
Oh gosh. We're gonna leave that comment alone. Travis, do not go there.
No, I have a real comment here. Because I've been talking about the same thing, Carol, over the last couple of weeks. If you don't
Really?
know the rules, you'll get beat up by them.
Yep.
All the times that I've been in a position in trailer parks and foster care, very junior in the military, first time home buyer, like all these things, first time entrepreneur, like all of
Yeah.
those times when you don't take time to learn about the thing that you're doing based on the rules, like you're gonna
You'll
get beat up
lose.
by them.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. And you just need somebody to guide you through that process, because like I'm
Mhm.
sure you guys had that in the military, right? Where somebody would say, "Hey dude, did you hear about this?" And that's the
Yeah.
only way you learn. Because if it were up to you, you'd be like, "I'm doing my job and that's it."
Right. Well, when did you get out, Michael? What year did you get out?
I got out in November 2007.
Okay, so I just retired in 22 last year. And while Carol was standing there, I'm sure they tell you all these things. Michael's face, if you're not watching this, Michael's face was all contorted like he didn't believe it. Back then, I agree with Michael, because there was like the internet, like access on base and different things. Like it really wasn't that special, but you would get like military notices. Like I would get nav admins telling me about different programs, but they publish like 12 of them things a day. There's a discuss. So if you don't keep up with it or keep relevant with your stuff, like you're going to miss it. And since Michael's gotten out, there is more and more people in charge of making sure like the general population of the military area understands some of these new things. But really, if you're not going to look for it yourself, like you're going to get beat up by
Yeah.
it. When I applied to become an officer in the Navy, there's this regulation. It's like 1420.2B op nav instruction. It's all the military commissioning programs. I went through that rule book for the thing that I was doing like 100 times to make sure all of my stuff was in line, and I got selected for my first time. The first time I applied, I got selected. That doesn't happen to a lot of people, but I went through that dang rule book 100 times to make sure I had it right. A lot of people in the US, they get beat up by the tax code. And the tax code, and I explain this, I've got some CPA friends that tell me this is not quite accurate, but I like to say it anyway because it sounds cool. The first page of the tax code says you owe this much. And then every other page in the tax code tells you how not to pay that full amount.
Get out. Well, that's why I have a CPA, and that's why I have a
Yes.
financial advisor, and that's why I have
Yes.
people in place that are behind my back. I actually called my financial advisor in an email yesterday because I was doing the intro,
Mhm.
and I introed him as my wealth guard dog. And he said, "I'm going to use that on LinkedIn." That is going to
Put it
be
on a
my
business card.
title.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Either you take the time to learn all the rules, or you hire an expert.
Right. 100%.
That's it.
And
That's it.
and again, our time is money. So we hire an expert.
My wife hates that. My
Why?
wife would hate this answer because she feels like obligated to like know all the answers, kind of, right?
No,
Like,
you
can't.
can be educated on it, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to know all the ins and outs of it, right? That's why they get paid what they get paid, because it
Right.
changes. Like if you got somebody in the financial market, they can see the ups and downs, they can predict. I know these days they use a little bit of AI, right, to help them. And then there's somebody to check, like an actual physical person to check the work, like, you know what? This is kind of a one-off thing. So we're not going to move stuff right now, right? But I don't think it's, we can't spend our time researching all that stuff and be correct. They do, though. That's their job. So we have to kind of relegate that responsibility to them.
Yeah. Yeah, you really have to do that stuff. I wanted to get back on more into some of Michael's stuff. I got to ask you, I've been delaying this question since we began. Michael, what is it about you? What makes you a Titan?
I think the word is tenacity. I just don't want to quit, right? Like I don't want to quit. The thing is like once you've kind of like looked behind the curtain, right? So in my case, like once I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, which was, I didn't think it was going to be a big deal, right? It's not even that big of a book. But I read it in like 2009. Once I read about the rat race and all this other stuff, and I started looking at country music, like, oh my God, it's just making me, it's making me super proud of the shitty life that I've created for myself. Like that, I still listen to country music, but it's like country music is basically like, it's all right to work your ass off and get nowhere. Like that's honorable. And so I was like, I don't like this. I don't like this at all. Like I want to make jobs, and like I see a bunch of people who are dumber than me becoming successful, and I'm like, I'm just going to keep doing it until I get there. If it takes me my whole life, I'm not going to stop. That's it.
When I asked Michael this question in our pre-interview, he didn't have an answer, but lucky for Michael, his wife was in the car and got to speak up. And so I'm kind of jabbing Michael a little bit, but I'm also saying that we don't often recognize within ourselves our own genius, our own Titan, our own thing that makes us special. And if you're listening to this right now and you're not sure how you are special, go to your best friend, send them a quick text and say, hey, what's my superpower? And you will be astonished, and you will feel more love than you've ever felt in your whole life, because people will tell you what your magic is. But this is what Michael's wife had to say about him, that he is unstoppable, passionate, and focused. He follows the vision to fruition. He's willing to work 12-hour days to get it done. That's from Michael's wife, because she loves you.
I mean, the Air Force taught me how to work 12, so.
Well, I think as entrepreneurs too, we'll do anything for something we have passion for, and we will do it, tirelessly, because it's almost like when you're doing it, you have no concept of time. All you're doing is heads down focused, right? And there was a time when I was writing my book, and I had made a promise to the people that were publishing it that I would get it done. Now, I disappointed them over and over again, because I found every reason not to even start it. And there came a time when they just said, okay, well, we've asked you now for about 6 months. When are you coming out with content? And I really didn't want to approach it, because that meant I had to deal with what was holding me back, right? And I knew that it was going to be very cathartic and really emotional. And the minute I did it, and I committed to a chapter a week, I finished it in record time. Like in about 2 months, I finished the book. It went to editing, and we had to, of course, refine it and stuff. But it goes to show you that, what we fear the most, we will put on hold the most. But when you have the drive and the tenacity, and when you're literally like, okay, I'm focused, I'm going to do this. I was doing literally sitting down in front of a computer for 10 hours, and I completely lost track of time because a story was being told. So I get where you're coming from. Like, you just lose track of time. You don't even know it's the next day.
That's
Interesting.
That's how I fired my last business partner.
What do you mean?
So I was coming off a 16-hour day, which, by the way, like today for me is a 13-hour day,
Oh yeah, what time is it there?
Super energized. I have no idea. It's 7:40. It's 7:45 at night. I'm gonna be here till at least 11 p.m. I've been here since 10 o'clock. It's been a weird day. It's like not all my days are like this, but today and tomorrow are. I got off a conference call at 3 o'clock this morning, and then slept for 5 hours, and then here's my day. Tomorrow's gonna be rough. Today's gonna be rough. It is what it is. That's what coffee's for. But the thing is when I had this business partner and I told him what I was doing, I was like, yeah, I'm finishing up. He called me at 10 o'clock at night, and he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm writing standard operating procedures, and I'm like, I'll probably be awake until 3 a.m. Because this needs to be done as soon as possible, not as soon as convenient, And so he's like, I just don't know how you do it. You're like a robot. And I was like, dude, I don't know how you do it. Like, how can you sleep with all this shit on top of you, not getting it done, when like it's not going to get done until you do it? It's just he just like didn't care, or
different
whatever.
I
He
think
didn't
his
have the
drive
for
was,
it.
yeah. And I also don't think it was necessarily his passion either. Right. So the way you took that, it fueled you. For him, it wasn't his passion. So how can you feel something where there's no passion?
I don't know, but it's been years. He still doesn't have a passion. The other day he called me and says, I think I'm going to learn Python. I'm like, bro, you're like 34. Like, you got to learn Python when you're like 9. Like,
Yeah.
trying to learn Python was when you were super geeked about it as a 9-year-old and you grew up coding. Like now, now when we can use AI to write code is not the time. He just chases after the next shiny thing, and it's sad to me.
Squirrel. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's like a defined personality, right? There's 4 core natures of work that we have, and everyone has a different core nature of work, or a combination of a pair. There's movers, shakers, provers, and makers. The shakers are the idea people, right? That nonstop idea. We know a lot of these people, a lot of mutual friends, are just like nonstop idea people. Those ideas don't go anywhere unless you also have a mover that can say yes to that idea, right? The mover then works with the prover, and if you're an idea person, right? If you're a shaker, the prover is the most annoying person on the planet. And the reason that is they're the people that when they see whatever presented to them, all they see is all the holes of whatever your vision is. Now, that's a great thing to have, because you need to be able to identify those and work to fill those. But the prover and the shaker, they can't talk directly, right? So the mover will go to them and say, hey, here's the idea. And they're like, well, what about this, and this? They say it like that. But the mover will go back to the shaker and say, hey, how would you address these concerns? Just simply tweaking the language allows that thing to go back and forth until the provers are like, yeah, it looks great. And then the provers work with the makers, who are the implementers, the people that actually do the stuff. So there's a chance that your friend is a shaker, he's an idea person, and he will never, ever, ever be a maker. He needs to find that other person that can implement some of the things for him, because that's just not his core nature of work. Not that he's lazy. He looks at the thing, whatever the thing is, far, far differently. I know that myself, I have been all of those things at different times in my life, but I'm primarily a mover and a shaker. I can think of ideas and I can say yes to them, and they're great ideas. But a lot of the times I need someone else to implement them, because when I start doing the stuff, my energy just goes way the heck down. I'm drained. I do something for 10 minutes.
Because you can't be creative. anymore.
Right.
Right.
Right. I have to be in that creative mode. So like I'll do like 15 minutes of work that drains me, and I'll go sit on the couch for over an hour because I'm literally wiped out.
Spent. Yep.
Yeah. And that has nothing to do with my drive or what I want to do. But if I'm not doing the right core nature of work for me, oh my God. Look at the
That's why you have to surround yourself with the other people.
Absolutely.
That's the point.
Absolutely.
Right? Because then everything keeps moving forward instead of you sitting there trying to figure out, oh, what am I going to do?
Yeah. I was going to bring up the American presidents for an example. We can look at the last couple of presidents from, Clinton up through today, and you can see how much these people age in office during their terms.
Yes.
Right? Because for a lot of those people, although they did, a good job, right? Depending on how you look at them, whatever you care about them, doesn't matter, right? You can see the ones that really was against their core nature work by how much they aged. Like Obama looked like he aged 720 years while he was in office for 8 years.
Oh man, he went white. Yeah, his hair went white, man.
Yeah, and that's not a assassination of his character or anything like that, but it was obviously outside of his core nature work. Donald Trump looked like he got younger. Not that I agree with him as a person or a president, but like that was the type of things that he had always been doing, and that actually gave him energy.
I'm gonna push back on that. He has money too, that if he wanted to do anti-aging anything, he could afford it.
I'm sure that he could, right? I don't know what he did or didn't do, but somehow
I don't know either.
Energized by the end of his term, where most didn't. And I'm not saying anything about him as a person or his policies or any of that crap. But you can tell the people that are doing something like, well, Michael's a veteran, right? You've seen these military memes where this guy that looks like 80 years old. He's like, the military wasn't hard at me at all. And it's like Jason, age 23. He looks like,
oh, Jesus.
He looks horrible. Like he's a million years old.
Horrible.
So there's this super old salt mine in Poland. My mom visited me last month. So I took her there, and they showed us this super cool, like, scale model of what the town looked like 600 years ago. And the guy pointed at it, and he said, and this was the retirement area. This was for people 35 and up.
35.
Yeah. But like
that was old.
Think about it, right? So like 1450, you're like 7, you got a pickaxe. You're 20
you're working
years later,
hard.
You're 27, you're 5 years from retirement or whatever. You know what I mean? I mean, most people in the military retire by the time you're 38. Like as soon as they hit 38, they hit that age where they can retire. Maybe they stay till they're 45, 50, maybe. Right. But yeah, so salt miner in Poland was old and retired and just burned out and broken by the age he was 35.
Yeah, it's a lot of hard physical labor there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So, Michael, I got to know what do people need to know about your past or your childhood? What do they need to understand about that to understand who you are today?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, if you really look at it, like from a certain point of view, like I was in a very loving family, even if it was a fractured one, right? So, I mean, my parents split when I was 5. Like I was the butt of most jokes from like age 7 through 14. I was never.
Were you an only child?
No. I was the second born, but like first to survive kind of kid. And then they had my sister, and then after that it was stepbrother, stepsister, but the stepsister was never in the house. So my dad got remarried, my mom just had a boyfriend. There were, let's just say, difficulties with some of the mom's boyfriends that I'm not really going to go into, but one of them ended up going to jail, like because of said difficulties. And the funny thing is that I had fantasized about murdering the guy until like my mid-20s, but found out that when I had got a job as a sushi server this is the first time I'm saying this publicly, but so I got a job as a sushi server in my hometown after working at this amusement park. And turns out that a girl who got hired like 2 weeks after me was this guy's daughter, who I knew when I was a kid, but didn't recognize. And he came in and visited her at the bar while I was there. So I totally had a chance to murder him, and I missed it.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well,
Did that
Karma
did
did get him.
that interaction change how you felt about him knowing he had a daughter?
No, because I knew her when we were kids, right? Like we were all tormented together.
Mm.
But like I didn't know who she was at the time. I didn't find out who she was until like 6 months later, after I had like quit the job. I had somehow found out who it was. And so like I didn't actually really remember her dad that I had met 6 months prior. Like I didn't develop a memory because it was just, her dad or whatever. I just remember thinking like, oh yeah, that's like a sad looking old man or whatever. And like they have zero relationship or anything like that. But I mean, the thing is though, is that like, regardless of how much you got your ass kicked as a kid, or, I mean, worse abuses, rape and this, that, and the other thing, it's like, um, you're only a victim if you let yourself be one, right? Kind of. I mean,
It is a mindset to some degree, and I think there's a lot of healing that has to go behind it too. And when it depends on age too, when things occur, because it can stay with you for a very long time. But that's where you need to get help and work through those things so that it doesn't have to define you.
no, for sure. I mean, am I going to say that like my heart rate didn't go up thinking about some things right now?
Yeah.
It definitely did. You know what I mean?
Right.
I've never seen a shrink about it or anything like that. I've always, I mean, there was this great book, like the body remembers or something like that. I can't recall.
Body keeps the score.
That's the one. So that I've read lots of books about how I'm fucked up to try to fix myself, or something. But yeah, for me, it's just and this was a big thing in between like 7th and 8th grade. So like when puberty hit, I shot up and bulked up. Like I've been this size since I was 14, which is 200 pounds and 6 foot plus. And so, but all of a sudden, like I wasn't, I was still the nerd, the outcast in my school. But when I would go to the other like junior high dances in the schools who had no idea who I was catching phone numbers. I was like, what is this? What is happening? You know what I mean?
That means you go to the other schools so that you can have fair game versus what they have seen you as since you were a child.
Right. So then when I went to high school, I was like, all right, I'm going to go to a school where I didn't choose to go to school where no one would know me because of this, but because I wanted to go to school to be an aircraft mechanic, I had to go to an out of district school in my hometown. So because of that, I was going to be in a brand new school where no one even knew anything about me. So I was like, I can either step into the school and day one, get my ass kicked and get made fun of and all this other stuff, or I can just try to be nice to everybody and not take shit from anybody. And so like the first sophomore to get it in my face didn't like what happened. And I was more or less one of the popular kids while I was in high school.
So you earned your right the first day, essentially.
I guess.
Yeah.
Well, that's really interesting, right? So often we have to leave our home area in order to be recognized for, the skills that we have. Jesus couldn't be a prophet in Nazareth because everyone's like, you're just the carpenter's kid, right? He had to leave to go build credibility. You had to go to a different school. I had to go to a different military community before they weren't holding stuff from 12 years ago over my head. You know what I mean? Like the mistakes you make as you're growing as a person. I went overseas in Bahrain and I got plenty of accolades. I got all the stuff, all the good fields, all the things you want to have when you're leaving. And I'm like, why the heck couldn't I have that back there in the place that I've been for so long? Then it hits you. Person. They still remember when you were 22 and running your mouth. They still remember when you're 26 and you said something stupid. They still remember, like, all those little things don't go away just because you've been there a long time.
Isn't it sad that they don't celebrate who you've become? Instead, they remember who you were. It's almost like they didn't grow with you.
Right. That point in time, right? When you go back to your hometown or you go back for high school reunion or whatever the heck, which I just got back from last week, those relationships, if you haven't nurtured them over that time, you're the same person that they remember from 20 years ago. you're not anywhere else. And when you're there like in person every day and they see you grow, they might not care. Like, oh, he said something nasty to me 3 years ago. We've never worked it out and they're never going to bring it up again. But they're holding it against you for God knows what reason. I couldn't tell you, but it's so interesting. I remember, Kelly, you have a time like this where you were like, I don't know. Do you have a story like this? Where you had to leave to be recognized for being awesome?
No, not really.
Just always been awesome.
Yep.
No, I didn't say that. Oh my God, here we go. No. I think I've changed and evolved so much that, I don't tend to go back. I just keep moving forward. So, if they happen to be reintroduced into my life again, they see where I am, they're like, holy crap, but it's not like I spend time with them on a regular basis. So what they think or even say about me just doesn't even faze me anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were, my wife and I are from the same town in Minnesota, and we went to visit, the cousins and some friends and grandparents. And we were talking and we're like, they're like still the same people that they always have been. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like the people that are grumpy or hold grudges, they're still grumpy and hold grudges. The person that's a shaker that has all these ideas but can never implement, like they're still talking about the big ideas, right? they're still plagued by all the same things, because I don't know if this is true for them, but like the people on this camera right now, we've done a lot of personal work and development. Like I've worked hard not to be just a complete jackass. I'm still a jackass, but it's only a part of who I am now, right?
Yeah.
I'm not a whole jackass, but like getting that feedback and implementing them and be willing to have people that say like, hey man, that's not cool. You shouldn't be doing that. Like, and then listening to it and then implementing it. I know how hard it is. How many people do we know that won't take any advice ever?
Well, hold on. They ask for it, but then they don't implement it. And what do we call it, Travis?
Those are ask holes.
Assholes.
Yeah, they ask for advice, they don't implement it, or they implement the opposite, right? Like those are.
It's almost to challenge you, right?
Yeah,
oh, I'm going to prove you wrong.
Well, do you have people that you give them the opposite advice to see if they'll turn it around? And
oh, absolutely.
Only my daughter.
Yeah.
Well, like I've got some people in my circles that are family that are perpetually late. We lie to them about what time the thing starts.
Yep. To make sure they at least show up somewhat on time.
Right. An hour or 90 minutes. And then we're like, hey, they're like, oh, am I late? And like, expect to be late? I'm like, no, you're about 10 minutes early, right where we wanted you. What? You lied to me? Blah, 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 blah. It's like, well, you feel your time is way more important than our time. So
yeah.
That happens in Poland. People are always late here.
Are they?
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, like,
is it habitual?
What's that?
Is it like habitual, or is it a cultural thing?
No,
is it
it's a bit of a culture. So like German people are crazy on time, like super on time. Whereas here, and again, like I didn't grow up here, so like I really can't judge, but like I got accepted to an accelerator program, and like it started at 9 o'clock. That's what the paper said anyways. So I got there at 8:40, which was really close to 8:45, which was the goal, and like the organizers didn't show up until like 30 seconds before 9 or 5 minutes after, like coming in all casual. And like I was the first one to show up and the last one to leave every time. So
odd. Yeah. It must be cultural to some degree.
Maybe people are, like you can blame the bus if you want. You can blame traffic or the subway or the trams or whatever.
But you have to take that into account before you leave too, right? I mean, like when you go to work, if it's raining and okay, usually when it rains, there's going to be a lot of accidents. So my normal 30-minute drive will probably more than likely be an hour and a half. I'd rather be early than late because it shows such disrespect for the individual that's receiving you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think
if I feel like I'm going to be late, I shoot him a text. They're like, "You're on time." I was like, "You're on time." I was like, "Yep, good." Hey, you're going to be
Yeah.
late. I was like, I thought I might be late. So I wanted to let
Yeah.
you know as a courtesy.
Courtesy.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yep.
100%.
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I'll send someone a text just like you. I'm like, hey, I'll probably be late, and I show up 1 minute early. Like, you're early, and I'm like, no, I'm not. Early on time was
10
15 minutes
minutes.
ago.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, this is late.
Yeah. Is
Yeah.
Being
that a
late is not
military
an
thing?
option.
Because I know I've
Excuse me?
heard that in the military, like early is on time and on time is late.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I
You
like
know
it.
what we have, and I learned this even in motorcycling from it was somebody from the military. They said 1 is none, 2 is 1. Does that make sense to you guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
If you have
referring
a backup,
to,
if you only have one backup, chances are you're going to use the backup so you don't have one, right? So if you have 2, you at least have 1 extra.
Yeah,
just in
huge.
case.
That's huge in aviation, right? There's a reason that most commercial jets and transports aren't 1 engine. There are at least 2. In the military, there are 4. 4 engines on a C-130, 4 engines on the E-6B. Like, when you have problems, and you always will, people are like, really? There's that many problems? Like, yeah, you want to find them on the ground. But when you are
Right.
airborne, you've got to have them backups working as needed. There was
Mhm.
there was an old, oh my God, there's an old story about this guy flying like a 1 engine little Cessna near a military airfield, and he's calling for emergency. When someone calls for emergency, like, other airplanes get moved out of the way, they go, circle around, take a lap, go around, and to let that plane that's having an emergency land. And they said, sorry, we're having a problem with the I don't know if I can get the aircraft right, like the B-17. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry, didn't mean to take the runway. They're doing one of those rare 7-engine landings because it's got 8 motors. Like, sorry, your one of 8 is out. My only one is dying on me. We'll
Right.
make way for the 7 of 8. Yeah.
Ridiculous.
It's absolutely
Love it.
absurd. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what's something about you, Michael, that most people just don't know?
I love it. You just threw the question out and he's just like,
Well, it's a fair question. What don't most people know about me? I have no idea. I mean,
We don't
there's
either.
lots of crazy things about me. I mean, I've been known to tell stories that people think are just an absolute lie, but there's at least 4 or 5 people alive who can verify them.
Well, hey, let's hear one of those stories then.
There you go. Okay.
All right. So in my favorite that never happened story was so I went to, like I said earlier, went to high school to learn how to be an aircraft mechanic. I've been obsessed with airplanes my whole life. I still am. And so we would have to either take the bus to the airport from home and then to the high school. But once you learn how to drive, you could drive from the airport. I mean, obviously you could drive yourself around. And so we had like a 25-minute drive from the airport to my high school. And so my mom had just bought herself for like her 40th birthday or whatever, like her first brand new car was a 2001 or whatever, like Honda CRV.
Oh my God, please don't tell me you wrecked it.
No, I had fun. So I had just wrecked my car, right? Someone hit me on the highway and just it got totaled. My first car. It was a bummer, but like nobody got hurt, which was great.
Good.
And so she had left for Florida to go visit her friend, left me her car, and I filled it up with all my buddies, and we were taking this boondocks road through to get to the high school. And I stopped at the stop sign and looked at my buddy in the shotgun seat and was like, hey man, we're gonna see what happens. And he knows, because like it's just a straight shot down a 35-mile-an-hour road for like 2 miles. There's no one ever on this road, so it's like we're gonna step on it, see what happens, because this is a brand new car. I want to see how fast it goes.
You have to break in the engine a bit though.
Absolutely. And so I stomp on it right past the Air National Guard base entrance and just floating. And we floated right past this cop car that was sitting in a church parking lot. And I saw it in like the corner of my eye, So I immediately slow down, and like the cop just, whips out behind us, pulls me over, And then my buddy who was following me, who was way behind, he ended up getting pulled over by a different cop, but that's a whole different story. So the cop comes up to us and he's like, license and registration. I give him my license. I'm like, dude, I don't know what the registration is. Like, this is my mom's car. But I was like, sir, and I had my hand, like I'm being super respectful, but I'm just, for brevity's sake, I'll casually tell the story. So anyway, so he runs my license and he comes back and he starts giving us an earful. He's like, I'm sick and fucking tired of picking up y'all's dead bodies on the thing. There's so much blood on these roads. You must have been going 60 miles an hour. And I was like, yes, sir, I was, because I was doing at least $110, $120 in a 35. And so, like, without hesitation, I was like, yes,
Right.
yes, I was absolutely, definitely going half the speed for sure.
Right.
Because, and at that moment, like, I knew that guy was just like eating lunch in the church parking lot or something. Like, he had no idea. He didn't clock me. He just saw.
Yeah.
And so I got off with a verbal warning. And by the time I got to high school, I was a legend. It was amazing. So
I love it.
I got a verbal warning doing like 120 and a 35.
Thank God he wasn't
my mom
clocking
was
you.
in Florida.
Oh, she would have murdered you. I'm telling you.
She knows the story.
Oh, she does now. Yeah. Yeah.
Those stories tend to come out much later when the car is no longer theirs and nothing really matters and no one got hurt. Then you get the real story, right? My daughter comes home from work one night and she's missing her front bumper, like cover, right? That goes over the bumper. And I was like, you want to tell me what the hell you were doing? She's like, I don't know. I just caught it on like a little snow, whatever, and just ripped right off. And I was like, I don't believe you, but I don't have the time to like, get into it right now. So we let it go. And now it's like 4 years later. And she's like, oh yeah, I was totally like jumping snowbanks in the parking lot. And I'm like, what?
My.
You do that with the crappy car you had for your first car, not the good one. And she's like, oh, like, isn't that like a teenager thing to, the first day she had her license. First day, she takes me and my son Cole to go grab a taco, which is just like a quarter mile away.
Your favorite thing.
She's coming in hot into the cul-de-sac. And I was like, you got to slow down, push the brake. She jams on the gas and runs into the garage door the first day she had her license.
Shit happens.
My wife was in the living room and she thought the car was coming through the house. It was so loud.
Oh my God.
No one was hurt. Little bump on the car. Garage door needed some loving. Banged out the dents and whatnot. But first day.
I'm still trying to think about what people don't know about me that I wish they knew.
So
I thought you wish they knew. They don't know.
They don't know. And like literally we had one gal that we went down this vein of, she believed in like the supernatural, right?
Okay. Jessica Muse,
it was great. Like we went down that vein and she started talking about, was it Robert the doll? Right, Robert the doll, the evil doll. And
Chucky?
No, where is it, in Florida?
It's in Key West.
Okay, yeah.
She likes to go see bizarre shit, haunted objects, sleep in like abandoned asylums and all this different stuff, go ghost hunting. Like,
that's fun.
Oh my God. We went down that one and there was some creepy stuff said. Yeah, it was crazy. So, just something like that. We had another individual, I think it was Amy Ann Finson. She did what was it, like an angel tour?
Yeah, first off, she said she was not very interesting. And then she went to this place in like Arizona or New Mexico and like was doing all these things with the spirits and then flew her husband out to meet her for this experience. I'm like, well, that experience right there is the thing that
interesting.
Right? Like she's like, I guess I just really don't think of that. Communicating with angels is a big deal.
Right.
Right. I mean, if we can talk about woo woo fun stuff, like,
oh, heck yeah.
A huge part of my identity is the fact that I've been to Burning Man. I like tarot cards. Tarot cards are a big deal. I think they're great. I don't necessarily. Michael, what's that?
I read them.
Yeah. Awesome. I mean, the thing is, and this is for anybody, like, whether you think that they can tell the future or whatever, here's the facts. The facts are there are only so many scenarios that can happen in life. And you can pick any one of these cards, and every single one of them will always vibe with you. But it's like but for me, like I use it more of like a mental exercise. Like, you know, you have this idea, you're stuck on something. Like I'm creative in general, and so I'm like I'm stuck on something, something's not going right. Like I want to read some stories, you know, like these are all archetypes about what can happen.
100%. Yep. What's your stone?
This guy?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's from New Zealand. My wife got it went on vacation.
Well,
She
for a
went to New Zealand
woo-woo
and brought it back.
dude, hang on. For a woo-woo dude, I would have been researching the F out of that stone.
I did, but like I don't want to be wrong about the name. I don't want to miss, you know, I mean, I have like gold, you know,
Say it.
silver,
Say the thing and say you
copper,
might be wrong.
Whatever.
you know,
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
It's some cool thing. Like I like this guy. That's the like Navajo god of sex, drugs, and rock and roll. You know,
Okay.
and I have my Christian ring on.
in the appropriate finger.
Yeah, it's been there since I was 16.
There you go. But yeah, like name, just even if it's wrong for yours.
No idea.
No. Okay.
No idea. It's been so long since I've heard it. Like it came with this cool little card. I think it's beautiful. It's like this cool little like figure 8 looking thing. So for me, it stands for like infinity.
Infinity.
Figure 8, you know? Yeah.
What'd be interesting is to find out the kind of stone it is, if it's only indigenous to that area.
It is.
And that it is. Okay.
Yeah.
And then like what their properties, what properties are held within that stone, right? Like all those things are pretty cool because, you know, as we know, stones are conduits of energy. And they actually use like, what is it? Ground quartz in electronics because it creates a frequency.
Piezo electricity.
Thank you very much.
So the name, because I hate not knowing shit.
Okay. That's just like Travis. He'll look it up too when we're talking.
I'll look like
right?
an idiot on video. I don't
care.
Yeah,
of course.
Pounamu is a term for several types of hard and durable stone found in southern New Zealand. They are highly valued in New Zealand, and carvings made from Pounamu play an important role in the Maori culture. So like this was like carved by native people, but the specific shape, I have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to find out. We're not going to get off this call until I know exactly what's around.
No, I'd just be interested if it helps with clarity, with vision, with, you know, there's some stones that help you find your voice, right? There's some stones that increase your ability to receive through your heart, or be what is it, the rose quartz, right? It's to open up your heart to be able to give and receive more, right? So there's all these different stones have usages, obviously also in chakras, right?
Chakras, right?
As well. So I love this subject because it's so much fun to me. I mean, I use them when I read.
Yeah. Well, so here is the Hey Matau, which is the fish hook, like from that Disney movie.
Okay.
And so this is called Pikura, which translates to twist, I guess. And it says the twist symbol refers to the unbreakable link between two people. Whether they are parted for brief or extended periods, it's reminiscent of these people's life pathways. So it's super romantic that I got.
So my wife. I love that.
But it's tied on hemp.
So. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Everything has to be in natural origin, of course. This one also has on leather.
Nice. I like leather necklaces. They feel good.
Yeah. So there you go.
This one is invisible because I don't wear
you don't wear one? Yeah, you know, I like a little bit of bling. I got the eyebrow ring, bracelets, watches, rings, necklaces.
Can you see that?
I love it.
Moonstone.
So for those who are now watching the video, Carol just shared with us her moonstone ring.
Beautiful ring.
Yeah. Well, I am a moon child from the month I was born. So I resonate very highly with when the moon comes into becoming a full moon.
That's cool. I was born on a full moon.
Were you?
Uh-huh.
Maybe you need a moonstone ring.
Sometimes
I'm
at the
thinking
bar I
about it.
drink Blue
I-
Moon. Is that the
I
same?
want to know what a moon child is.
Look it
Yeah,
up.
I was September 28th, 1985.
Cancers are
Okay.
moon children.
Got it. I'm a Libra. We're
Yeah.
like,
You're balancing justice all the time.
right. I like to
Well,
take the
does anyone
devil's
want to
advocate
guess what
side.
I am?
What are you?
No guesses based on how long we know each other?
Scorpio.
Nailed it. First shot.
I know way too many Scorpios is all I've got to say.
All right. So, Michael, why'd you say Scorpio?
Just the look on your face. You looked like a Scorpio.
It's the Scorpio look.
It was a ethereal reaction. I can't
There
explain
you go. There
how
you go.
I felt it, which I believe that some part of my subconscious that lives out here did. So, which is also things that people don't know about me, like my love into metaphysics and
Oh, the
thanking your
metaphysical
water
world.
bottle and all that stuff.
Yeah. What is that, Dr. Morrow? Sorry, the language of water. Thank
I
you.
don't know
You'll get it.
The specifics that he did, I'm not sure, but Water the Great Mystery was really, it was a documentary that was written a lot about his research in basically making snowflakes, saying things in water and making snowflakes. The idea being that like water is basically a hard drive.
Right. And it's also energy. So it takes whatever you put in and magnifies it.
Right. And
so that's why when you take
water. That's why I tried to
Right, we
explain to
are.
my 2-year-old the other day. You know,
We
'cause
are.
I took her swimming and she's like, I don't want to. And I'm like, you know, you're kind of like, you drink it, you're made out
You're
of
right.
it, you can swim in it, you can float in it, it's not going to hurt you. You know?
Yeah. Well, water, if you, and this is why we do these, what we call intention baths, is, you know, if you're in the water, it's a conduit. So if you happen to be focused like a meditation, right, on certain words, and sometimes the words aren't with you at that moment, but it can come to you. And let's just say you're going through a particularly hard time in your life. Been there, done that. There are words you can focus on to give you strength, right? And there was a point in my life where I really needed it. Like I really needed strength and courage. And I focused on those words, did an intention bath. A lot of great things happened from that.
That's cool.
Yeah, because that's what we're made of.
Definitely. I mean, water's a big deal. Have you ever done a deprivation tank, the float tank?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, try.
I haven't. You like that?
Yeah. Anybody?
Yeah.
No one.
There's
Travis,
one
no?
nearby me that I've been invited to, but I haven't gone yet.
You got to do it.
My schedule's just so busy since I retired. There's like all these long walks to the fridge. I get sidetracked.
Well, you know, you just get to like lay in pitch black body temperature water for an hour, and it's really bizarre.
Well, it's a form of meditation too, though. I
Mhm.
would think like you'd have to be like pretty calm and relax and let your mind water. I think it could be a really good place for you to be extremely creative as well, because because sometimes we need to step away from things that we're working on in order to gain clarity. Right. And I think there's even been scientific studies that have even said, if you're stuck on something, don't try to figure it out, walk away from it, because in the background, as you walk away and do something else, let's say as mundane as going to mow the lawn or cleaning the house, you've got all these systems processing in the background. And eventually, you know, ping, in the middle of whether you're cleaning or mowing the lawn, an idea comes to you.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't go away. It just needed time to, you know, like kind of work through the system.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
Spit it out.
I like to sleep. I like to sleep on stuff. Like I got this accelerator program I told you about that I got accepted to. When I got, so a friend of mine signed me up because he's like, you're doing eco-friendly packaging. These guys want startups who are doing packaging, and I'm like, I'm nowhere near being accepted to an accelerator, but whatever, like I'll sure go ahead, throw them, like, because that's how I care about certain things. Like, what's the harm in throwing your name in that hat, right? And so they accepted me for the pre-accelerator weekend or whatever. So they invited me to come visit all the people who were accepted on Friday. And everyone's there with solid, and like I've been an entrepreneur for a while. Like I've done dozens of business plans, I've advised, I've done lots of things. So it's not like I'm some chump who just shows up without an idea, but that's exactly what I did. And so I said to my wife on Wednesday, I was like, I don't even, this is probably not even be worth my time. I'm just going to decline it. Like I should actually be concentrating on this. I shouldn't let myself get distracted by this thing. Like it's just not the right time. I'll do the next one next year or something. And then, but the little voice in my head was like, don't be a pussy, just do it, And so I show up and there's people there with like businesses that have won awards and like they've been developed and like, they're almost, they just need an extra boost, right? Like they're not in like Series A or something, but they're good. They're getting somewhere. And so they asked me, they're like, so what are you here for? And I'm like, I have no idea. I don't know. And they're like, what do you mean you don't know? I'm like, well, I design eco products for a living and I don't know. I'm hoping that maybe while I'm here, someone will say something that I'll pull something out of the closet. We'll see, And so at the end of the night, like a bunch of the mentors or whatever that they brought to take to the thing, they asked me like, do you know what you're going to do yet? I'm like, no. They're just like shocked because like they're
probably
like,
stressing out like, oh my God.
I feel like they're looking at me like I should give a shit, because they give a shit and they're like scared for me, but I don't care, and because like there's so much other things to give fucks about.
Yep.
This isn't one yet for me. And so
they're all wrapped around the axle and you're overlaying in the daisies looking at the clouds.
Yeah, like I'm just trying to be relaxed that I could pull a solution out of the ether. You know what I mean? Like I can't force an idea to come, And so Saturday morning rolls around and I thought I'll sleep on it. I'll wake up. Cool. Which is usually what I do. Like I have a dream or something weird. And I show up at 8:40. Everyone else is late. I'm still sitting there thinking about it, still looking through my notebook. Nothing. I got nothing. I'm blank. And so while they're giving their little "this is how it's going to work" speech, that's when it hit me. I was just doodling like nouns and verbs and I was like, this sounds cool. And so I thought of it and then I looked up to see if the .com was free. The .com was free, so I bought it right there. And like the girl sitting next to me is like looking over my shoulder. I grabbed a couple of little like icons from the Noun Project, which is a great place to get icons. And I just Adobe Illustrator, the little logo and shit. And then after they were given their little speech, they're like, okay, who wants to show their idea? And I'm like, me. And so I like full screened the logo and I was like, this is Bass Pack. It's gonna da 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 da. And I went on for 5 minutes about how it's gonna be the most kick-ass like bass fiber, eco paper prodigy ever. And they're like, where did this even come from? I'm like, you just heard it. I was just making it up. Like, this is it. And that speech was not that different from the actual speech that I gave 2 months later after all their practice and all their mentoring or whatever. Like, it was.
Well, I think it becomes a
for
gift
so long and not know what you're talking about. Like, you can't
Well,
just lie your way out of it.
Right. But I think it's also a gift, right? You know this about yourself. Like, I'm not going to panic. It'll come to me. Right. And it did, and it's the belief. I think part of it too is believing.
Yeah.
Sure. Because
What
go ahead.
super
Sorry,
cool about it
Travis.
and, like,
I heard
very
Travis
humbling,
starting to go.
I get excited to have these kinds of conversations. So sorry for cutting you off. On Sunday, like after, because there was like 14 teams to pitch, and then there was me, and so I'm like, this was fun. It was a cool weekend. We had some good food. Like, I'm not gonna get in. Like, some of these ideas kick ass. You know what I mean? And so, and the thing is like they were only gonna accept 3. Like out of like the 14 or whatever, it was 3. And I was like, whatever. Like, my heart's been racing all day. I've been watching it on my Apple Watch. Like, I now give a shit, on Sunday, like 2 days later. And so when they said my name, like on the third one, because they instead announced 4 instead of 3, and they said me third, I just sat there. They're like, they made a joke like, oh, he just came up with the name yesterday, he doesn't remember it's him. That's what they said.
Oh
And
my
I was like,
God.
no, I know. I'm just like mind blown that like out of these great projects, the one that I literally pulled out of my ass 12 hours ago, you know what I mean?
Got selected.
I got selected, which was to me like hilarious and cool.
But can you imagine how some of those people felt that had like,
mad.
I know, because they had worked so hard and spent months and like, you know, worked endless hours with their mentor, like help me find an idea and then put it all together. And meanwhile, you pulled it out of your ass and just went up, presented, and got accepted. Like, seriously.
Yeah.
Isn't
Yeah.
that
There
how
was
the
one
best
girl who
things
was
come?
super
True.
mad. I was like, hey, I want to help you like develop, because like I'm really good at like cost calculation of like, if you're going to make a product and it's made from things, like by the time I'm done, you will know how much each pallet costs.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And how much that pallet weighs. You know what I mean? You'll know how many bottles, labels, man hours, every to the penny, how much a pallet costs. And so I asked this girl, I was like,
see, he's a maker. He's a maker, Travis.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
I don't know. I can't say exactly what I am. I'm an enigma, is what I've been told. But I said to this girl who had this cool, it was a sunflower yogurt, and I said, you know, and she brought samples. It was good, and so I said to her the same question I asked everybody: how much for a pallet? Because like I think, as a manufacturer, I think
about sourcing
and pallets.
Yeah, you're talking about sourcing it and how much each individual ingredient costs to bring together.
Well, I wanted to know specifically how much does it cost her to produce a pallet, and how much can I buy a pallet for? Like, how much does a pallet cost? How many units are on the pallet? What's the lead time? I want to know all the stuff, because you know you're here for the accelerator. You already gotten money before, like you should know your shit. She didn't know. And so I showed her one of my work calculators where like I just punch in how many units the order is. And I know it's going to take 207 man hours to produce approximately this many days. Blah, blah, blah. I was like, I will make this for you. And she's like, okay. And then
she doesn't understand the value behind it.
Huh?
She doesn't understand the value behind that.
I mean, maybe not, because 2 weeks later I saw her at a trade show and I was like, hey, by the way, don't forget, I will still help you with this calculator. She's like, nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Like you could pay me $1,000 to make you a calculator.
Her balloon. You popped her balloon because you got accepted and she didn't.
It's not my problem. I still offered to help.
I know. Well, it's not about that. It's not about that. Best intentions, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. We're getting ready to wrap up here. In theory, we're over time, but time's just a construct. We can do whatever the hell we want anyway. What advice would you have for someone that is struggling with something, trying to find their idea, trying to work through it? Would you just tell them to relax? What would you tell someone that's struggling right now?
I would tell them to go get as many jobs as quickly as possible.
Okay.
Yep. Like,
why?
If they have like some kind of inkling into what they think they might like, then go do it for a month. You know what I mean? And then go do something that's related to that for a month. And just.
Are you saying so they understand the processes?
Sure. You know, I mean, I would always tell people like, I would never work at Subway because I love it. And I know that if I worked at Subway, I wouldn't love it anymore. You know what I mean? But like, so when I got into this niche, I somehow was lucky enough to go work for a wholesaler who worked in this niche. You know, like they were one of the largest wholesalers of novelty products in the country. So I got to like, I didn't want to go be a picker in a warehouse and like pack boxes. It was beneath me. But I got to see from the inside how it worked. I got to see trends, not from a computer screen, but from what I was picking, I got to see who bought what, where what was being sent all around the country. Like you dive into the thing and you see how something works. Yeah, I guess so. At the end of the day, the advice is to dive in.
Mm-hmm.
You know, get your hands dirty and fail forward.
Do your research.
Yeah, even if that means you're gonna quit your good. Like at one point, and my wife doesn't understand this one to this day. Like I was making $12 an hour as a security guard when I could be making six figures at the time. But the thing is because I was just a security guard, I was able to read books. Like a security guard just walks around once an hour and like lets people in and out of the gate, but they sit in air conditioning in silence the rest of the time. And so I was reading college textbooks, listening to podcasts. Like I read so many books that like if I had a real job where I actually had to work, I wouldn't have been able to sit and read books. I got paid to learn.
Yeah.
And that was like a year of my life that I sacrificed being a nobody to get paid to learn. So
I definitely love that perspective, you know, finding the way that you can really unlock yourself the most. Some people have to get quiet. Some people need to, you know, be in the shower. For me, I've got to be moving and distracted. I have to be, my favorite is driving my truck and listening to an audiobook. Eventually the audiobook will just fade out and whatever the inspiration is comes to me. People are like, you drive all over the country. Why? This sounds terrible. You know what sounds terrible? Jumping into an airport and getting herded through like cattle, and you can't have things like, I don't know, water to get through the line there because it might be some other thing. And you sit there next to people you don't know or smell bad, and you're in a pressurized airplane and it messes with your head. And then, yeah, that doesn't sound fun either. So I don't know what you're talking about because I think driving's great. But find the way that you can unlock yourself, your inner thing that allows your spirit really to speak to you. Michael, if people want to get a hold of you, what's the one place you would like them to connect?
I don't know. This will probably show up on the recording, but my phone number is right there. You can hit me up on WhatsApp. You can also find me at michaelklepacz.com or on LinkedIn, which is just Mike Klepacz.
Michael, that's 3 places.
That's many places. I'm digitally all over. I'm global.
Yes,
digitally.
michaelklepacz.com, and the number will be in the show notes if you want to send him a text or a call on WhatsApp. Thank you so much for being our guest today, Michael.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
That's all for this episode of Titan Evolution Podcast. We hope this no-holds-barred conversation opened your eyes on what it takes to live a genuinely happy life according to your own terms. Now that you've treated yourself to such a refreshing discussion, you cannot listen to nonsense content anymore. Be sure not to miss an episode by subscribing to the show at TitanEvolutionPodcast.com. Don't forget to share the word so more people can be enlightened, informed, and entertained. Thank you for listening.